Hey everyone! So today's video, I'm going to be designing a character, specifically a desert warrior character. Now, I'm not the best at designing characters, at least in my opinion. I have one original character that I made a video, not really on the character, but like I made a video showing the character. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, this unicorn character with the sword and all that. Anyways, I love this cute little character. I'm definitely not abandoning her or anything like that. Sorry. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'm sick, so my voice in this video is gonna be a little bit nasally and I'll probably be coughing a bit. But yeah, back to what I was saying before though. I see a tissue. Back to what I was saying before. I'm definitely not abandoning this character, and I do have some plans for her that I want to draw her in. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. So for most of my past experiences character designing, I usually just draw something cute that I like and then turn that thing into a character, or I do a little bit of research, a little bit of reference photo gathering, and then just jump straight in. But usually that results in a lot of changes during the sketching phase, and yeah, I draw the character, I finish it, and then I'm like, you know what would have been better doing this or that or this or that, and then I just get a million ideas. Or another thing that happens sometimes is that I just don't form an attachment to the character. It just becomes like a chore. I finish designing it, I do the final artwork with the character, and then I'm kind of just done with it and never touch the character again. That's happened to me so many times. And in my previous character design video on my channel, that's pretty much exactly what happened, you know? I have not touched that character ever since. So for today's video, I want to be a lot more intentional with this character design, and I want to gradually form an attachment to the character and keep drawing this character. Now, I'm actually in the future right now. I already did the planning stage for this video, but of course that stage was so important, and I'd love to walk you guys through all the little things that I did.
Now, as we get into the planning stage for this character design, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Milanote. Milanote is an easy-to-use tool that you can use to organize your ideas and projects into visual boards. I used Milanote for today's character design video, and it genuinely helped me organize all my ideas into a single aesthetically pleasing location. Usually when I work on character designs, big illustrations, or designing products for my shop, my inspiration is scrambled across Pinterest, videos on YouTube, saved Instagram posts, books, random things on the internet, and of course, hundreds and hundreds of sticky notes. Milanote is great for visual and tactile thinkers like myself because it allows you to organize your ideas in whichever format you like and in a way that makes sense to you. Now, to start off the planning stage for today's video, I created a main board with a blank template, and I basically just changed the background color to match the vibe of this character that I was creating. And then I started adding elements to the board. I started by adding a header as well as the description text, and I changed the colors for both of those so that they'd match with the background. Now, one of the things that I wanted to work on was creating characters that have defined personality traits and characteristics. So a cool feature that you can add on Milanote is something called a column. And within that column, you can add various types of elements. So I created a column here and titled it Character Traits. And then I added a note element within the column and wrote down all the details for this character. So here I listed the name, which I don't know yet. I also have the age, the personality traits, the skills, character inspo, physical traits, setting, and symbols. Something I found really nice about the columns is that you can actually have several different elements within the same column. So if you want to have a text block and then an image underneath, you can do that. And yeah, the possibilities are endless. Now, next up on my board, I made a checklist, which is something I really enjoy making. The majority of my sticky notes are actually just to-do lists. So being able to make a custom checklist digitally on my board with everything else there is really nice, and I appreciate that feature. In addition to notes, columns, and checklists, you can add videos to your Milanote board. So over here in this section of my board, I included 3 videos by some artists I admire here on YouTube. I really love their character design videos and skills, so I included them here to just remind me of my inspiration. Now, a key feature on Milanote that I think is really handy is the ability to collaborate. When you're ready to share your work, you can invite your colleagues and clients to gather important feedback and collaborate with them in real time. You can communicate with them using comments throughout the board and give editing access for collaborative projects. Probably my favorite feature on Milanote is the ability to have subboards within your board. So over here in this column titled Reference Photos, I have 3 subboards: character references, environment references, and symbols. When you create a new board, you have the option to use one of Milanote's several creative templates. Whether you're a filmmaker, writer, web developer, or creative hobbyist, Milanote makes starting a new project easy with over 100 built-in templates for every type of creative project. So to start off my character reference subboard, I created a blank template and started filling it with images that inspired me, mainly from Pinterest, but also a few from Tumblr, surprisingly. Using the Milanote Web Clipper add-on, you can quickly and easily save images and links to your board from any website on the internet. You can also drag and drop images from websites or saved files on your computer. Another element I added to this subboard was these color swatches, which I think is a super cute way to plan out color schemes. This was my original attempt at figuring out a color scheme for my character, and I ended up following it pretty closely with a few minor adjustments. To organize my board, I split it into 3 sections using dotted lines and headers. So we have a color scheme section, a real life reference photo section, and some illustrations that inspired me by other artists. I included captions on the illustration images, and I tried my best to find the artists online just to properly give them the credit for their work. Now, here's a quick look at first the environment board that I made, and next up the symbol board that I made. Now, both of these boards are a lot simpler than the character board, but it was a nice way to visualize the vibe that I was going for. Also, I didn't get to use all these environment images just yet, but I'm using it as a space to save photos for any future background illustrations I might want to make with this character. It's honestly so nice to have all the reference photos I've gathered sorted aesthetically and neatly into subboards rather than having them all in one cluttered, overwhelming board on Pinterest. Or even worse, my camera roll on my iPad, which has happened in the past. Finally, Milanote is available for free with no time limit. If you're interested, you could sign up using the link in the description of this video and start your next creative project. Thanks again so much to Milanote for sponsoring this video. I really enjoyed planning out this character on Milanote, and I'm excited to use the software for some future art and web development projects I have planned. That's pretty much it for the planning stage of the video. So yeah, we can now move on to the concept sketches.
Okay, if you're watching this clip here, I assume that the planning stage of the video is all complete. This is the next stage of this character design video, and I'm going to be doing some concept sketches on this page of my sketchbook.
Alright, so this is when I finally got over my fear and started sketching for this video. Honestly, one of the hardest things for me to do is just start these days. I'm blaming it on my ever-present, never-ending art block, so yeah. Now, I have to admit, all the planning and research that I did beforehand, as well as just the organization that I did, you know, like the boards and all that, it really helped me start the process faster for the sketching stage. And it gave me like a clear direction, a clear goal. And yeah, I just knew what was important for this character to have. Now, obviously some of my ideas did end up changing. And as I was sketching, I would get more and more ideas that would differ from my original plan. But that's just normal, I feel. You can never just come up with something and have it be perfect the first time. In fact, I feel like the design after this video will most likely change in some ways. And I'm excited for that because, you know, at least I have an organized base design that I'm happy with. So it's totally fine if the design changes up a little bit in the future. Now, for the design itself, I tried to give her a unique face shape and just some facial features that stand out and would be easy to replicate. So yeah, I gave her like a diamond-shaped face. I made her eyes a little droopy and almond-shaped. And I gave her like a hooked nose. I don't know if it's hooked, but there's like a bump to it. Now, there is some scarring on her face, like one of her eyes has a scar cutting through it. But in the final illustration, I changed the shape of the scar and I connect it to the scar cutting through her nose. So it looks, I don't know, it looks, I feel weird talking about this, but it looks more unique. I don't know if that's weird to say. But yeah, there's probably going to be a backstory to it or something eventually. Now, for the clothing and armor, I wanted to make it like intricate and detailed, but also like I wanted to be able to replicate it several times without wanting to scream and die. So yeah, I used inspiration from a bunch of photos, but I made sure not to copy any of the illustrations. Like I tried my best to use the real life reference photos for inspiration. And honestly, I freehanded a lot of it and just added things out of my head. I knew for a fact that I wanted her to have short sleeves because it adds a cool layer to it. And then, yeah, the patterns were mostly freehand, but some of the patterns do change. Like I simplified the pattern on that triangle cloth thingy because I realized it was just like way too complex. I was trying to make it figs and leaves. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, figs plays a big part in this character because I wanted figs to be the emblem of the army she's in, if she's in an army. I'm not sure. Maybe she's an independent fighter. I think she's part of an army. Anyways, yeah, the figs play a big part, and I learned that it symbolizes wisdom and success. And then I added another meaning. I added prosperity to the meaning. So I feel like it's a really cool symbol for an imaginary fantasy kingdom to have. It also plays a lot of significance in Arab culture or Arab culture. Yeah, figs and olives are a big deal. Now, I do want to point out she's not part of any particular race in our world, at least. Like, I wanted to keep her race and stuff ambiguous. She's just inspired by Arab and North African culture. But it's kind of like Avatar, where they're inspired by different cultures, but they're not particularly of that race or culture, if that makes sense. Like, it's a fantasy world. It has nothing to do with our world. Anyways, over here I did a full body illustration, sketch of the character because I wanted to really plan out the entire outfit altogether. Like the other one was kind of just like a torso shot that got out of control, and I drew a little bit of like the lower body. But this one, I really wanted to map out the entire outfit together. And yeah, here's where I really plan out the different fabrics. I wanted her to have lots of flowy layers because then I could have fun with the colors that I include in her outfit. I also wanted her to have these loose baggy pants, and yeah, I really love the shape of it, of everything, honestly. I really enjoyed making this character. But yeah, as you could see there, I simplified some of the patterns so that they'd be easy to replicate and I wouldn't, I'd be able to draw this character again. Now, I actually really love the pose that I did for this character. I think it's really cool. I like the fact that it was dynamic, so it wasn't just me planning out the outfit with her standing stationary. I feel like I was able to implement a lot of like motion into the fabric, and yeah, it turned out really cute. Anyways, after that, I did this other portrait thing, a headshot of the character again. And I was really happy with how I was able to make her look the same. At least I feel it looks the same to the first initial sketch. I feel like her features are unique enough that if I implement a few things, like the bump on her nose and like the scarring detail, the eye shape and stuff, and the face shape as well. The face shape plays a really big part. I feel like if I implement all that, it really shows it's the same character. But yeah, I wanted to experiment a bit and make her have an expression other than bored or staring glumly into the distance. So yeah, I made her a little bit scared looking, maybe just shocked a bit. I don't know, it's not an intense emotion. It's like a really subtle one, which matches her character in my opinion. Anyways, here I wanted to fill the space, so I just wrote down her details. And this is where the details actually change a bit from the planning stage, but I adjusted it on my Milanote board to match this, I think. But But yeah, I lost some footage over there, but I added some cute little symbols, and then I started like, I added this little piece of paper and started planning out the patterns so that I'd remember like all the patterns I like, and also sketch in some new ideas. But yeah, that was pretty much it for this page. I added some final touches, but unfortunately my camera died.
All right, so I think I'm finally done the sketching, well, the concept sketches for this character. I'm actually so happy with this character. I'm cheesing so hard right now. Anyways, yeah, if something ever happens to this page, I will scream. My mental health depends on this page, honestly. For that reason, I'm going to be spraying it with this clear glaze. I just love it. This is my favorite sketchbook page right now. I'm so tired. It's, what time is it? Oh, it's 3:07. You can even hear like, well, I can hear the birds chirping outside. It's wild. But point is, I love this character, but not just the character. Like, screw the character. I love this page. Like, I really enjoy how it turned out. I love how these two look the same. I actually managed to like make her have distinguished face characteristics kind of thing. Anyways, I'm rambling and I'm being entirely too positive. This is, wow. This is the first. Also, I forgot to mention, my camera stopped recording for a bit. I did all these little patterns and borders and stuff like that, but I don't know how much my camera caught, which is kind of sad. But yeah, I like adding these little things behind the character really was, wow, I'm losing it. But yeah, that was fun, and it made it super cute, filled up the empty white space. Now, I was being a little delulu for a second and thinking like, oh my god, what if I added red ink all over the background of this page? This red ink in particular. Absolutely not. I just know for a fact something will get destroyed if I so much as open this ink. So putting it far away, I'm just gonna quickly, before I do something, glaze. I've already been glazing this page, but I'm gonna apply the clear glaze to this page. Okay, I need to log off right now.
Okay, so here I applied the glaze to the page, but I also lose my mind because at the start the glaze was actually ruining the page. Like the back of the paper was leaking through and I was freaking out. Now the freaking out was understandable because I was in love with this page at this point, but it was also very cringy, so I decided to spare us all and just cut it out. Also, the freaking out was totally unnecessary because after the varnish dried, all the leaking from the previous page just disappeared. But this is a good reminder to test your materials before using them so that you either don't freak out or you don't mess up your entire artwork. Alright, so after all that drama, the next thing I wanted to do was test out the color schemes, or test out color schemes in general. Now, I wanted to test out several color schemes without ruining my existing sketches and also without having to draw 3 billion mini versions of the character. So I ended up just taking a photo of the full body sketch I had of the character on the sketch page, and then I sent that photo to my iPad to color it in using Procreate. So here is the sped up time lapse of me coloring in this character. I started with a base layer so that it would be easier to just like fill in all the colors without going out of the lines. And then I just started experimenting. I started with the skin tone, which I wanted to be a little olivey. Then I added all the purples and the gold parts, and I experimented with what colors the rest of the outfit should be. Now I ended up with 2 variations that I really liked. One of them was olive green for the accent color, and the second variation was a dark teal, like desaturated teal color. Now, I was really torn between these 2 color schemes. I had no idea which one I was leaning towards, so I asked a bunch of friends and family, and eventually I made a poll on Instagram asking for all of your advice. Now, I won't reveal just yet which color scheme I ended up going with. I'll reveal and talk more in depth about that during the actual coloring process. Alright, so this is the start of the final illustration. I wanted to sketch in purple because purple is kind of one of her main colors. So I have some colerase pencils and that Pilot Mechanical pencil that has purple lead in it. Anyways, I took out this spare sketchbook and I started planning the concept sketches, except it's really only just one concept sketch. I ended up going with this first idea, which is a habit of mine, honestly. I just like and go with the first idea that I get. And then I tried doing a second pose for the sake of coming up with a second concept, and I hated it. So I just went with the first concept, and honestly, it turned out pretty cute. So yeah, I used that lid there to make the arch for the frame of this illustration, but I didn't like it, so I changed it to like a wider arch. Like that a lot better. Then I used the lid again to make the sun and started working on the border of this illustration. Honestly, I kind of just worked on whatever felt easiest. A lot of this was like freehand. Like I didn't use a reference photo for the frame. I was kind of just drawing from my head, which I don't do super often. But it was nice. It was really fun, you know? Anyways, I'm just lightly blocking in the character's shape and pose over here, which is really overwhelming because there's so much details, and sometimes I get lost in the details before I'm done the structure of the character, like the actual base pose. But yeah, it worked out for this illustration, to be honest, because a lot of her lower body anyways is just flowy fabric. So I'd prefer to focus on shape language of the fabric rather than focusing too much on anatomy when it's not even gonna show. It's mostly covered. But yeah, I really wanted a variety of fabrics coming down from her and flowing all together. And then I started working a tiny bit on the background and frame. Like I'm just doing everything all at once. It's kind of overwhelming, but when I get bored with one part, I just switch to a different part, and you know, it works for me. Also, I had to search up reference photos for swords. The swords drove me insane because it felt like they weren't long enough, or they looked a little weird, or yeah, like it was just really tough. But eventually I really liked the shape of the sword. I love the hilts of the sword as well. Definitely gonna keep those. But the actual blade, the shape of it might change eventually. So after dealing with the swords, I moved on to the next most intimidating part, which was the head of the character. So I drew the hijab, and then I drew the headpiece details and moved on to the face. Now the scar shape changed from the original concept sketches, quite dramatically actually. And then I drew the eyes and all the facial features. I think it still looks similar to the original sketches. Like I feel it still looks like the same character. She just looks a little scarier here because she's angry and has pointy swords. For some reason though, I feel she looks a bit older in this illustration, but I don't mind that. Like she's probably just stressed out, you know? Anyways, yeah, after that, I just started adding all the, you know, tedious details of her outfit, like the armor, the sleeves and everything. It was a lot. Like there was so much details that went into this character, but it was so fun. Like I really enjoyed it. I added more details to her belt and then mapped out the folds of the fabric. And after I was done with all the fabric like shapes, I started adding the patterns to them, which I found really fun. Like this character made me realize I really enjoy patterns. Most of the patterns, actually all the patterns basically, were out of my head, which I felt really happy about because it was unique, you know? I wasn't copying off of anything. Even like real life photos, I wasn't copying off any of those. I drew inspiration from them, obviously. Like I had them in my head kind of, but all the patterns were like unique, which I really appreciated for this character. Now I wanted to add more elements to this artwork. It felt a little bit empty kind of. So later on in the sketching process, I added figs to the top two corners, like these figs with leaves and stuff like that, because figs are kind of a big deal for this character. I still need to figure out and map out exactly why it's a big deal, but for now it's just the symbol of the kingdom she's from or protects or something. But yeah, those are the figs over there. I like how they turned out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the sketching for this illustration.
So I finally finished the sketch for this final illustration. Obviously there's a couple of details missing, like the entire city in the background and, you know, some patterns across the border, but I figured I'd just fill that in freehand, like with colored pencils. Now for coloring, I think I'm gonna use Kuretake Watercolors because they're kind of opaque, but they're also still watercolors. Also, I love the color selection of this set. I'm also gonna use some colored pencils for the line art. So probably these ones here by ARRTX as well. Or I might use my Prismacolor ones. I don't know yet. But yeah, I have coloring materials. I also have the color scheme that I'm gonna use. I decided to go with the teal instead of the olive green color scheme, just because I feel like it matches her character more, and also it's a nice change from just using olive green 24/7. So yeah.
Okay, so here's the start of the coloring and line art process for this illustration. Unfortunately, the angle and lighting are not the best during the start, and even a little bit during the middle of this process. But yeah, I need to pay better attention to how the footage looks while doing these kind of videos. Anyways, I started with the skin tone, and then I added all like the black and gray areas, and then my camera died, as usual, for the most exciting part, which was the color of the hijab. Very sad, very annoying. Anyways, as I mentioned earlier, I went with the teal blue color scheme because I use olive green way too much, especially in combination with purples and golds. In addition to that though, I just feel like the teal blue matches her vibe a lot better, especially since it's a dark, muted teal blue, or at least it was supposed to be. Now, I didn't match the color exactly to the concept sketches, unfortunately. I wish I spent more time mixing the correct shade of teal, because right now it's leaning a lot more towards navy blue and bright blue, but it's okay. I still like how it turned out. Now, over here, I started adding all the purple shades to her outfit. Something I love about the Kuretake watercolors is that there's a lot of extremely vibrant purples, but then there's also this really opaque, like light lilac purple, which I used for her shirt. But yeah, I started just adding all the colors to all the different fabrics. Unfortunately, some of the patterns got covered up, but it's okay. I salvaged it a little later with colored pencils. After that, I just started adding all the different browns to her armor, belt, and, you know, objects. And I just kept filling in colors here and there. I don't know what else to say for this part. Oh wait, I do know what else to say. The gold turned out so cute. I love the gold. It just like, it pops with the other two colors, which is honestly another reason I'm glad I chose this dark teal blue. It makes the yellow stand out more. Like, I feel like olive green is already so yellowy, so the gold doesn't really have a chance to stand out. Like, I think the accent color for this character is actually gold, not teal blue. Teal blue is just one of the like primary colors for this character. I don't know if that's the right term. Anyways, here I start working on the background painting, but the lighting from my window is so dramatic. This was like early morning and the sun was shining, and I thought it would look cute, but it's really just distracting from what I'm actually painting. Eventually I realized that and closed my window. Anyways, for the background, I didn't want it to be too distracting, so I basically made a monochromatic background. It's just different shades of yellow, orange colors. And then I then colored in the leaves for the figs and the figs themselves. And yeah, honestly, I love how the colors all work together. I think it's really cute. So after all that, I started going in with the colored pencils. I have to admit, I was really nervous at this stage because it was looking a bit questionable. But as always, once you add the colored pencils, it just sharpens everything up. All the details come back to life. And you can even add extra shading with the colored pencils themselves. So yeah, I really enjoyed this process. Usually I hate line art, but in this case, I really liked it. I feel like what helps me with line art stage is coloring first. It makes it a lot more enjoyable to then just fill in the blanks with the colored pencils. Anyways, because the lining stage is a little self-explanatory, there's nothing really to dive deep into at this stage. I thought I'd talk a bit more about the character herself. So this character is one of several, maybe 4, maybe more warrior characters that I want to do. And the fact that I still want to do this weeks after finishing this illustration is a pretty solid sign that I'm not going to give up this time. Now, I have no idea how the other warrior characters are going to fit in, if they're like a team, if it's just for fun. I have no idea. I have no idea how they're going to look like or anything like that. I have too many ideas regarding this whole thing, and I feel like I just want to slowly explore it and plan it out. So yeah, I don't know if the next warrior characters are going to be from different places or if they're going to be all desert warrior characters. So one of my ideas was to make like a forest warrior, an ocean warrior, an Arctic warrior, jungle one maybe, and just like use different environments to inspire characters. But another idea was to just stick to the desert vibe and make like different clans from the desert. So maybe like an olive clan, a pomegranate clan, and a bunch of other like desert inspired fruits and symbols. So there'd be like 4 warriors in the desert and there'd be some lore behind it or something. So I'm kind of leaning towards sticking to the desert environments, not desert specifically, just like I guess North African and then Middle East vibes kind of thing. I'm really leaning towards that option. But I also don't want to limit myself too much. So you never know. Maybe I might go with the second option and branch out to different environments. I kind of doubt it though. I think I'm going to stick with this whole vibe that I have going on. Anyways, I'd love to hear your ideas about this whole concept in the comments below if you guys are interested. I think there's like an 80% chance I will go with the whole like fig clan, olive clan, pomegranate clan and make it like a fantasy environment, but not like 4 different elements, because I feel like or 5 different elements, or however many elements, because I personally feel like it's kind of it's getting a little too close to Avatar vibes, and I want this to be like a unique concept, even though I know it's probably not 100% unique. This has probably been done before somewhere. But yeah, I'm really excited about this whole idea. It does need to be mapped out a lot more, and I have a feeling it will change dramatically. Like, I have a feeling even this character here, I might make like several new versions, maybe with the fig theme stressed a bit more, because right now you barely see the fig theme represented in her outfit and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how I would represent it harder. But overall, I'm really glad I did not go with the olive green outfit idea, color scheme idea, I mean, because now that there's no olive green in her outfit, it leaves room for an olive themed warrior, which sounds a bit silly, but yeah. Anyways, just a little recap for the materials I used. I used some ARRTX acrylic markers to lighten some parts, fix some mistakes, and add details and highlights. And then I use a Tombow dark brown brush pen to make the border around, well, the frame border. And finally, over here on screen, I'm using a gold acrylic marker, again by ARRTX, to fill in the pattern. But yeah, after some final touches, this was pretty much it for the process, the coloring process, and the process in general. You know, the process.
Okay, I think I'm finally done all the drawing and stuff for this video. I'm so happy with how this character turned out. I think this is my favorite character design to date. Like, I really like everything about this character. Now, there are a couple things that I want to touch up. I know, I said I was done, but it really never ends with me. This shadow finally dried, so I can add some shading to it. There we go. Other than that though, I don't see anything else that I need to nitpick. Anyways, I'm gonna be taking a ton of photos of this page, and then I'm gonna be varnishing it, just in case the varnish destroys it, because I have trust issues with this varnish. But yeah, once again, a huge thank you to Milanote for sponsoring today's video. It was such a fun experience, and it honestly helped me sort out my ideas so much better than I normally do. Yeah, I just feel the design process was so much more successful. Like, it took a long time, it took ages, but the results were worth it. But yeah, that's all I have to ramble about for today's outro part of the video.
Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry again that I disappeared for so long. I keep disappearing. And I'll see you in the next video whenever that happens to come out. Bye.